Hi everyone! As you may have noticed, I have dug deep into my wardrobe and found my old princess crown. I thought I would wear it today whilst explaining to you some of the possible psychiatric and psychological disorders of two of my favourite Disney princesses, Belle and Ariel. Like a lot of young girls, I really loved the Disney princesses. In fact, I actually thought I was Belle because I had brown hair and I liked to read. Ah, the wisdom of a 5-year-old. But after looking at them from an adult's objective point of view and not a, oh, she's so pretty, I've come to realise that they're actually very psychologically damaged and not really a good role model for young girls. Now, I will be talking about possible clinical disorders that these two princesses might have if you apply psychological terms or disorders towards them. Obviously, they have very warped and kind of just messed up ideas about men, as do all of the Disney princesses, because basically the moral of every Disney princess story is look pretty or sing nicely and you will get a man and he will save you from falling asleep or being a mermaid or whatever trouble they seem to get into. It's a terrible, terrible message. None of these princesses are independent or strong or women in themselves who don't need any help. They're all kind of damsels in distress who need the strength of a man to make their lives complete and to fall in love and to get married, and that's basically their only goal in life, is to acquire a prince or a man. So yeah, I don't agree with that, but I'll be mainly focusing on the psychological diagnosable disorders of these two princesses. First up, we'll do Belle, seeing as though she is my favourite. She is the main princess from the movie, or the story, Beauty and the Beast. And for both Belle and Ariel, I have found two diagnosable disorders for both of them each. Good job, girls. Yeah, you're really psychologically healthy and good role models for young girls. Anyway, the first one that I would look at diagnosing Belle with is Stockholm Syndrome. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the story, she gets kidnapped by the Beast, and he basically makes her stay in his big castle in exchange for her father. At first she resists, and she's like, oh, I don't want to stay here, I want to go home and see my dad. But then she kind of falls in love with her captor, which is classic of Stockholm Syndrome, where the kidnappee falls in love with the kidnapper. Now, in the story, this is portrayed as a beautiful love story, and the Beast was just misunderstood, and no one cared for him, and no one loved him. Yes, that is all nice and well and good, but when this happens in the real world, it is very warped and creepy and usually not healthy at all. You must remember, this Beast locked her up and said, I am never going to let you go and you have to stay with me till the end of time. This is not a healthy reaction to being kidnapped. However, it is portrayed as a beautiful situation in which their love can blossom. This isn't a good thing to teach young girls. Now, all throughout the movie, Belle's love of books is very well established, and if I was to go out on a limb and have a look at what she might be experiencing in her little brain of hers, I would suggest some sort of delusional disorder, as she often gets so deep into her stories that she completely blocks out the real world, doesn't talk to anyone else, keeps to herself, knows in the books, walks around with no knowledge of what's happening around her. You could argue that she just really likes reading, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's the way that she fails to engage with the community and engage with anyone other than her father, regardless of how nice they're trying to be to her or how inclusive they try. She is often in her own little delusional fictional world, often brought about by her love of books. Of course, these are just disorders that could be applied to these princesses. By no means am I one of those psychologists or psychology students who want to go around diagnosing everyone with a disorder because it doesn't fit in with what society wants. Actually, I'm very against diagnoses unless it is maladaptive. And I think in Belle's case it is maladaptive because she kind of fell in love with her captor, which in real life would not turn out to be a fairy tale. Now we get to Ariel from The Little Mermaid. She is a messed up little girl. Okay, first thing that popped out at me, because I may or may not have watched this movie recently, was her obsessive-compulsive disorder. Now, I don't know if any of you have flicked over or seen the show Hoarders, but this is basically the Disney equivalent. Basically, Ariel swims around with a little tail, collects all sorts of junk off the ocean floor, forks, cups, all these human things, and collects them in a giant pile where she lives. She's assigned each of them a special meaning and refuses to let go of any of these. This is a classic case of control problems in obsessive-compulsive disorder. It would probably look like it stems from her lack of control over her own life, as her dad is very protective and very controlling of her. So often people with obsessive-compulsive disorder find something that they have control over, such as collecting things, whether it's nice things or useless things, and she has obviously channeled this this issue into collecting crap from around the ocean and piling it and refusing to let any of it go. Secondly, her behaviour demonstrates pretty much perfectly dependent personality disorder. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the story of The Little Mermaid, she basically saves this prince who's fallen off his ship, drags him onto the land so he'll live, and then Ursula, the evil character, says that she will give Ariel legs if Ariel gives her her voice. And of course Ariel would like this so she could fall in love with the prince, who she's never actually talked to before. She's just saved his wet, soggy body. But hey, who am I to question Disney logic? So this dependent personality disorder is very evident with regards to her father and impressing this prince. Now, the really disturbing thing about this is that she gives up her voice to impress this prince based purely on her looks. Now, dependent personality disorder is characterized by people giving up things or changing themselves in order to please other people. They have this need, this really deep innate need to please everyone around them, to keep everything harmonious, and to basically look their best and not embarrass themselves or say anything wrong. They're dependent on the love of other people for their own self-esteem. Now, of course, all of us feel like this sometimes, but I feel like this is taking it to an extreme, trading her voice, which is part of her intellect, her personality. She's basically just a pretty face when you take away the voice, because how else are you going to converse or get to know someone if they can't talk? And I presume that the prince and Ariel do not know sign language. So this need for approval from this prince that she's never met, and this need for approval from her father to marry a prince and to be happy and to not be a disappointment, is very characteristic of dependent personality disorder, so much so that it's very unhealthy to be teaching young girls that in order to impress someone you need to give up your voice, and your voice is a metaphor for everything about you. It's about your opinions, your personality, your character. By giving up this voice and instead relying on your dashing good looks or your beautiful long silky hair, is basically telling girls that, look, it doesn't really matter what you're like as a person as long as you look pretty. Yay! Now, of course, as I mentioned previously, all of these stories are pretty messed up. I would not have my daughter watching these and taking in these messages of you need to do this, this, and this to find a man who will love you, basically for what you look like. Your goal in life is to modify yourself or your behaviour so that you can find a man who will basically just put up with you, I guess. He could be a street rat, like in Aladdin, or he could be a prince. Either way, you do have to modify who you are. Sorry girls, there's no real princesses that you can really look up to in terms of strength of character or ambitiousness. They're all pretty much just pretty faces, which is a real shame. And I'd love for Disney to come out with like an awesome princess who, I don't know, kicks butt or something like that. I think Mulan would be the closest one. I'm not sure she's considered a princess though. As she joins the army and fights and pretends to be a man, although that is kind of derogatory as well, that the only way you can be successful is being a man. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little deconstruction of my two favourite Disney princesses. I do look like Belle, don't I? Got the brown hair, well it's red now. Just need a really ugly dude to lock me up and then I'll fall in love with him. So yeah, any takes? Thanks for listening guys. Tell me what you think in the comments if you have any ideas about other princesses that might have different psychological disorders. I'm sure there are many. I might even do another video with some of the other princesses if I get around to it. So thanks for watching and enjoy your day.